What you're about to hear is a terrifying true story told by the very person who lived through it. This is not fiction. This audio has been recorded exclusively with fear and lore. Prepare yourself for a first-hand account with paranormal encounters and the restless spirits that defy explanation. The experience is real, and the fear is undeniable.
All right, so I work with the military, and this happened in the Panhandle area down in Florida. I'm not going to talk about the specifics because it's a security thing for the military, right? So this happened on base housing. I was coming out of my shift at the time, and I was working the grave shift. The housings were really old. At the time, it was like old base housings. These housings were built in 1960s, and then they had to be replaced for a while. So eventually they got replaced, and the new area that they built on have never been touched before. And then one day when I came to the house after my shift, I was talking to, I came into the house and I saw, my wife with a couple of friends, and we were there with a couple of friends, and our kids were asleep. But then when I walked by the stairs, because this was a 2-story house, I heard, like laughing and playing on the upstairs. So I asked my wife, so I went to the kitchen, I was talking to them and all that stuff, and then I heard it again. And then I asked them, I was like, hey, are the kids asleep? She was like, yes, the kids are actually asleep. We put them to sleep like 2 hours ago. It was around midnight. And then basically what happened after that, it's like I heard it again. And I looked at my wife and our friends, and I was like, you guys didn't hear that? And they're like, yeah, we heard it. And they were like, well, I guess they're awake. So obviously I was curious just to make sure they were asleep and make sure that they didn't get hurt, because it was around 2016, my kids were young. And then when I went upstairs, my kids were, dead asleep, like they were passed out. So I told my wife that, and everybody essentially, got spooked at the time. We didn't think any of it, and we just, let it go at the time. And then another time, I came home from work, same house, and then I was sitting, in the living room area, just watching some TV after work. This was around 1 a.m. in the morning. And then one of my kids' toy was actually on the ground, and it started making a sound. And then basically, I grabbed the toy because, I wanted to watch TV, and I turned it off. I didn't think any of it. And then about, I want to say like 10 minutes after that, mind you, like I stood up, I grabbed it, I turned it off, and I put it away. The same toy made a sound about 10 minutes later. And then I stood up, right, again. In the back of my mind, I was thinking about the other incident that happened 2 weeks prior to this. And I just, grabbed the batteries out of the toy, took it apart essentially, and then put it away. And then 15 minutes later, the 15 minutes later, the toy essentially made the same sound. At that point, I got spooked. I grabbed the toy and I threw it away outside the house. I actually threw it into a nearby pond that was in the area. And then I was like, maybe I'm tired. I just got to go to sleep. All right. So I went to sleep that day. Right. And then fast forward, I want to say about a year after that, I had my brother-in-law with his family. They came over, and then my brother-in-law, he's always said that he has, some connection to the other side, which I mean, I do believe in that kind of stuff, right? But I'm never like, yeah, this stuff happens all the time. And then whenever he came over, one time I was outside in the garage area. So to give you some perspective on how the house looks, so when you come in the garage area, when you come through that door, you're gonna hit a small bathroom right there in front of you, and then to the left is the big living room, and then all the way down you're gonna have the kitchen area, right? And then basically when I went to open that door, I felt like like a breeze, essentially go through me. And then at that point I was like, what the hell? Like, what was that? And I said it, quite loud at the time. And my brother-in-law heard me, right? There was no draft, there was no way of air passing through that area because, it's a covered garage. The back door was closed, the garage door was actually closed too. And then when that happened, I went over to him. He asked me like, what happened? I was like, well, I felt like, like a cold breeze just went through me. And he just straight up looked at me and said, yeah, that's the old lady that was watching me cook. And that just gave me goosebumps. Like, I was like, are you serious? He's like, yeah. He's like, I told you I can see things. And that lady was just right there, just watching me cook. But I don't engage with any of those. I just, keep my respects and just let them be. And then at that point, I told him about the other incidents, right? He did tell me that during that time, whenever I was working, he has seen a little girl in the house too, that sometimes decides to play with the toys. That freaked me out, right? And then at that point, after that, so fast forward maybe, I want to say maybe like a month or two after that, I was same house, same garage, and all of a sudden, I was cleaning my car, all the doors were open. It was like the middle of the summer. It was really hot. There was no breeze or anything going on. The garage door was open, and then one of the doors actually closed, right? So I went to open it again because it was like halfway open, and I thought I bumped it and I closed it, right? So I went to open it again, and then when I go back in the house to try to get something, and I opened that garage door, all the doors in my car closed by itself. And at that point, I was like, this is nuts. And I told my brother-in-law what happened, and he just told me, he's like, yeah, it feels like they're a little bit irritated by your presence and the way you're treating the kid. I didn't pay any mind to it, but then I did get curious, and I did a lot of research on the area and all that stuff, and I found out later on that area was potentially a place, it was like a Native American burial site. That was, they did studies, archaeological studies and all that stuff, and all the remains were actually, moved properly and all that stuff. But it seems like the spirits like remain in the area. And yeah, that's pretty much my story. After that, I went ahead and, we moved to another house on base, same house. There was always that feeling that there was a little girl in the area with us, but we never saw the old lady again.